Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be building the ultimate budget quadcopter possibly on the planet. This is my opinion, and this is what I truly believe out of everything I've ever tested. And let's get to talking about why I chose these components and why I truly believe this is going to give you one of the best experiences you'll probably ever have, either as a backup quad. And the thing is about this quadcopter, not only that it's budget, if you want to change its performance, all you have to do is replace the motors. Very simple. So let's get started. Now, let's talk about some of the components here. Now, I went with the frog frame, and I'll tell you why. Here's a frog, and here's another frog, and here's another frog. So both of my favorite quadcopters are frogs. I have a frog 6-inch, and I have actually both of them. I think no. One of them is a 5-inch and one of them is a 6-inch frog. This one's going to be a 6-inch frog. If you want to get a 6-inch frog, they're at my shop. You can get them. They're just the 6-inch arms, and yeah, that's where you can get them. But it flies insane. Whether a 5-inch or the 6-inch, they're all going to fly beautifully well. I'll leave a link to everything down below. So let's start talking about some of the components here. So obviously for frame, we're going to be using the frog frame. So let's put this guy to the side. For motors, I am using 2207 2500 kV Racerstar motors, and I don't understand why people say, "Oh my God, you're such a noob for using Racerstar motors." You know, I use everything. I use F40s. I've used almost every motor on the market. So these are very good motors. I don't really care what anybody says. Through all of my experience, these perform like any other motor. I mean, not in performance, but the price is ridiculously insane for these motors. It's cheaper than an antenna for your Vtx if you break one. So if you wanted a backup quad, this would be the perfect motors. The Racerstar motors are very good. However, I've never tested the 2207 S 2500 kV, and this is going to be our test also. So back to my topic. These are very good motors, but if you I'm not still sure how good these are going to perform, but I'm pretty sure they're going to perform well. But if you want other Racerstar motors, I would highly recommend the 2306 S 2400 kV motors. I've tested those. I have those on a couple favorite quads, and they still perform till this day. I've had them for maybe since they came out, actually, and they're still performing. I've broken a couple, like any other. I've broken T-motor right there, if you can see that right here. See my previous video. This was the second LiPo where I broke the T-motors, and those are premium-ass motors. But anyways, this will not hinder your flight performance whatsoever. These perform just like any other regular $20 motor. So yeah, plus they're cheap. So if you break them, you just easily replace them. So that's what we're going to be using for motors. And motors don't really matter because you could choose any motors you want. So I'm going to be using these motors. For VTX, I will always stick to my Eachine TX526. It's $11, and I have never ever had one fry on me, actually, ever. I mean, I've broken a couple, but that's just from crashes and stuff, and that's to be expected from anything. These are $11. I truly recommend them. You get beautiful range, beautiful video. I never have any problems with them, and I would totally recommend them because I have over 30 of these guys. So I'll leave a link to this one down below. However, some people say it might bleed to other channels. So if you're flying with other people, you might want to look to something else. However, I fly alone, so this works great for me. So I just thought I'd let you know that right now. All right, so let's move this away. Camera, I'm using Foxeer Xt60 $20 camera. Beautiful camera, CMOS sensor, low latency, beautiful light transitions and exposures. Obviously, there's better cameras that are out with better quality, but to be honest, the quality it really does not bug me at all. I mean, I can still fly my quad perfect with any other camera. I mean, unless it's a shitty CMOS camera, then the light transition is pretty terrible and it'll just be black. But this, I would highly recommend, and a lot of people have used them, and I still use them to this day on almost all my quads. This is what I go for when I can, or the cheap clone version of this one. They're just beautiful. They just work absolutely phenomenal, and they're cheap. All right, so let's put this guy to the side. ESCs. Now, ESCs was a battle between two ESCs. There's the two all-time best budget ESCs, and they're considered budget ESCs just because of their price, but they're performing like premium ESCs, which is even better than some premium ESCs. So there's two ESCs. I wanted to build it with the Flycolor ESC, the Flycolor budget, but it's currently on my ESC testing quad, as you can tell here. I still haven't flown this. I've done so many tests on these ESCs, absolutely phenomenal, very good price, and a lot of people will, stand by these ESCs. They are very good ESCs, and you can get them. I have links to everything down below. You can get them from my shop, or you can get them from Banggood also, whatever you want. All right, but since they're on my ESC testing quad, I've decided to use the second best ESC, budget ESC, which is the spedix IS 30 amp ESCs. These tested phenomenal. And what I tested them on, obviously we're not going to use this Emax 2306 2400 kV. This is a very harsh motor, so I know for a fact they're going to handle almost any other motor perfectly. So when I do my testing on ESCs, I set up worst case scenarios, and that's how you're supposed to test. So you see if the ESC could handle some very harsh motors that are just very destructive and noisy. So if these ESCs could handle this like a beast, like a champion, so can the Flycolor. Any ESC, you could put any motor on it basically now. So this ESC is considered a very good budget ESC, and this used to be a premium ESC, but now since the BL 32 and all these things started to come out, nobody really. Well, I mean, I still love BL S, but a lot of people wanted to go with the BL 32 because they're newer and everything, and that's cool and that's tight also. But these will still perform just as good as BL 32, if not better. So take that into consideration. These used to be premium. Now they just went down in price because they're just an older version. However, they perform spectacular. $10 is an amazing fucking deal for these. No joke. But you might say, oh, well, there's a 4-in-1 version of these. Stay away. Stay clear away. It's a piece of shit. I don't care what anybody says. There's controversy about that thing. It's a piece of shit compared to other 4-in-1 ESCs. If you're looking for a cheap 4-in-1 ESC, go with like a Racerstar 35 amp tattoo 4-in-1 ESC. That proved so good with a Maytag sensitive gyro with no twitches, which was just amazing for a 4-in-1 ESC to do that. I never had the 4-motor testing setup, so we never really got to test it, and also I lost that quad. But yeah, so these are very good budget ESCs, and this is what we're going to be using. I'm going to remove them from here because I was testing this obviously. So we're going to be using the Racerstar motor with these. It's going to handle phenomenal. So for flight controller, I truly love all-in-one flight controllers. That's just me. That's my thing. And this is the Dahle Rc F405 all-in-one flight controller. Now this one is pretty unique in a way. It has everything you want, OSD. It doesn't have SD card expansion. It has a proper 5 volt and a 9 volt regulator on board. What does that mean? Well, let's just say, even though we're going to be using good ESCs, let's just say we didn't use good ESCs. However, your quad was still flying pretty good, pretty decent, awesome. But it did have some noise in the video feed. This will eliminate almost all video feed. And if you were to have noise in your video feed with this on, then you have a pretty big problem, or it's the VTX's issue on board. So take that into consideration. This is my ultimate all new all-in-one flight controller. I don't care what anybody says. Price is perfect. It has all the features I want. Maybe it's missing an SD card expansion, but for me, I really don't care about that, to be honest. But for some, it might. You have Betaflight OSD, you have a current sensor, you have everything you freaking want here. And I think you even have ESC telemetry. But stay away from ESC telemetry. I don't know why. Every quad I set up ESC telemetry on, I burn ESC in the motor. So I'm not going to be installing it. Obviously, it's a BL S, so you don't even need ESC telemetry. It's actually bullshit, to be honest. I haven't even fixed it correctly. All right, so yeah, we're going to be using this. Obviously, we're going to clean it up. This was on the testing setup, so that's why it has some solder and stuff on it. So that's what we're going to use here. So overall, these components are good. So again, just the Dahle Rc engine. spedix IS30 single ESC. They are BL S ESCs. Racerstar 2207 2500 kV motor. I know these should perform very good. I'm guessing that they're going to perform better than the 2306 S 2400 kV. Time will tell, and we'll know that in a little bit. VTX again, Eachine TX526. I love it. It's cheap. It's always available. And yeah, for the price of basically one premium VTX, you can get two of these guys. Awesome. And they give you an antenna, and they give you the they just give everything. I mean, the wire is crappy, but who cares, you know? And for camera, you could use whatever you want, but I'm sticking to a $20 camera. So overall, the price here, like the ESCs are $40, motors like $30, cameras like possibly even less than 20 now. So we're talking about like maybe $150 right here, and you're getting basically a premium quadcopter. The frame is absolutely phenomenal, from Betaflight, you know, just stock Betaflight PIDs, to the flight characteristics, to the freaking durability of the Transdeck Frog. I don't care what anybody says. A lot of people would agree with me. This is by far one of the best frames you could possibly purchase for your money. Obviously, you can get other premium ones, but that's up to you. But overall, this is a beautiful performing quadcopter. And if you ever wanted to upgrade this quadcopter, all you have to do is replace the motors. So especially if you're new or you want a backup quad, this is like the best components money can buy. I mean, you get the most out of your money with these components, whether it's these ESCs or the Flycolor ESCs. They both perform exactly the same. Whatever is readily available for you, go ahead and pick some up. I'll leave a link to everything down below, so you can go ahead and check those out. And if these videos do help out, it'll be pretty awesome if you could use the links down below or purchase something from my shop. That'll really support the channel as well. And enough talking. Let's start preparing everything, and let's just start building. Alright guys, so the first step is we're going to go ahead and start preparing the flight controller here. Now, as you can tell, I already have some solder on it, but yeah, we're just going to clean that up and just freshen up the solder area. So for the soldering station or soldering iron I'm using the TS100. I really love this. So I've been using it a lot more lately, especially the fact that it's portable. It really does help a lot. And I really am loving this new tip here. I forgot what it's called, but it's just very nice little tip. So we're just gonna go ahead and start just preparing these pads here. We don't have to do all of them, but I'm just gonna do all of them anyways, just to freshen up every single one of them here. Can you see how beautiful that little tip is? It's just awesome. I'm really in love here. And it's pretty cheap now because there's newer versions that are out. But that doesn't make the first one crap at all. And if you leave it for too long, it'll actually kind of go in standby mode, take less power. So if you kind of forgot it on your battery or something, since it's kind of portable, it's pretty nice. So something you need to be careful of. There's a little bridge right there for the 9V and 5V for the VTX as well as the camera. What I do is I go ahead. It comes default 9V for the camera and 9V for the VTX. However, I do replace the camera. I change it from 9V to 5V because it's better for the camera. I mean, it doesn't really make a difference, but it's just my personal preference. It makes the voltage regulator on the camera doesn't work as hard. So, and plus it just reduces some. It keeps it overall efficient because you do get power loss when it's doing that. So right now we're doing the Esc Power Pads here, and they look pretty nice. And so here's RX2. This would be the ESC telemetry, and again, I would totally avoid it, but it's up to you. For some reason, every time I do it, something bad happens to whatever the quadcopter is. So I've burnt already because of the ESC telemetry. I've burnt 2 ESCs, and I have burnt 2 Emax 2205 motors. So that's what my ESC testing quad was set up on, and now I've set it up with with a Emax 2306 motors, so we can do the same exact test as we do on the testing setup that I have built in the shop here. All right, the noise testing setup. So overall, very nice. I really like it. It's very straightforward, this one. Seems very simple to set up. Pads are pretty good. I mean, I've dealt with bigger pads, but it's very well labeled and so far it looks absolutely awesome. All right, so now we have the flight controller basically ready, the all-in-one flight controller. And let's go ahead and I like to start with connecting the VTX and cameras and stuff first now. Just over the time I've been building, I find this to be easier. Just, right now you have full control of it. So, to get these parts, instead of when it's inside the quadcopter and you have all this other shit connected, it's a pain in the ass to do these. You might hit something or you might miss something. So yeah, that's something I like to do now ahead of time, which is just install the camera, receiver, and VTX wire. So this is here the camera wire currently. And if we take a look at the board, let's see, there it is. So we have ground, 5V, and cam. So let me see if I can get there we go, a little tweezer so I can point out for you, because I don't know if it's showing up on camera because my screen is small here that I'm looking through. So we have ground, 5 volts. As you can tell, I bridged the 5 volt there. It comes bridged with the 9 volt. And camera right here. FCam is the OSD of your camera. You can actually control the camera OSD through here, through Betaflight. So if you want to do that, you put it on FCam, but the regular video wire is just going to go to cam. So there we go. We have a normal camera wire, which is usually just red, black, and yellow. So we're going to start with, let's start with the black, which is ground furthest out. So let's just do that real quick. Now you got to be careful with that little 9 volt bridge. I wish it was a little bit farther away because that can create problems. So let's just say someone built it and they said, oh my god, as soon as I built it and I turned it on, it burned. Well, because you bridged the 5 and the 9 on the place of the bridge right there. Yeah, which could be pretty bad actually. Oh. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and start with ground. I think it heated up just fine. Nope, it's still heating up. Should we just wait a little bit longer for it. Okay, there we go. We have our ground for our camera. And the next it's the power here. Right there. Which is the second one over. And be careful not to hit that over there, that little bridge thing. And you don't want any wires hanging off the edge of the board. Because sometimes those can touch. Alright, so there we go. Should add a little solder to the tip. Always make sure the soldering iron tip is clean and resting your forearms on the table so you can get a super stable position to move and reduce the risk of you hitting anything. So we have our camera wires done here. Looks good, and yeah, it looks fine here. So let's go ahead and start with the VTX, or just do the VTX now. And here's the VTX. Let's see, where is the VTX? Alright, so here's the VTX. We have ground, and then 9 volt, and then VTX. So let's start with the ground again. Maybe the ground's a little bit too big. Oh no, it's perfect. So we're going to hit that right there. Beautiful. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and set it up. Set up the power here, and again, be careful the bridge part over there, which is selectable between the 5 volt and the 9 volt. You kind of don't want to get near that. Okay, I think that's in. It's kind of far. And there we go, VTX, which is the yellow wire. This is for the video feed. Okay, so that's all set and done. All right, beautiful. Alright, so the receiver is left. We're going to keep the receiver for a little bit later because I need to find some small, what is it called? Small silicone wires for it. So let me go ahead and start preparing the ESCs and stuff, and we'll take it from there. Alright guys, so basically the all-in-one flight controller, the Dahle Rc, the flight controller, is basically done now. So we have our receiver connected, and sorry I just forgot to actually press record while doing the receiver, but it's pretty simple. You have ground, 5 volt, and RC. This is for S-bus inverted. If you were going to use S-bus that's not inverted or I-bus, you would go to any other RX pad like RX2 or RX3. You can just go to any other RX pad that's not being used. Now, if you're using ESC telemetry, that would be RX2, so you would want to avoid RX2 and use something else like RX3 or something like that. So it's just that simple. And here's another RX6, I think, or 5. So you could use that as well also. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start preparing the ESCs and the motors. So we're just going to basically move this to the side. We're going to come back to this later on. Next time we go back to this, actually, it'll be inside the quadcopter. So VTX here, we're basically done. It was over there. So we're just going to move that to the side. And here we go. We have the ESCs and motor. So what I'm going to do now is basically I'm just going to cut all of my motor wires about this length here. Connect them to the ESCs and then install the motors, and then from there figure out how much power wires I need. You want to keep the power of the ESC as small as possible because it kind of does introduce some noise into the system, but that's just something to take note of here. So yeah, just take note of that right there. And also you would want to kind of put something under the ESC here that'll be some kind of insulator so you don't have the ESC touch. And I've had this happen before where the ESC touched from the wind and then just burnt everything. So I'm probably going to just wrap like tape right here underneath it on each side of the ESC. So just in case if anything were to happen that were to strike there, I'm totally fine. So that's something that's very important that I'm about to do right now. So I'm going to go ahead and just prepare the motor wires. What I'm going to do is just going to cut all of them short and install them here. And I will install a couple motors together so we can see how see how to do that if some of you are curious. And yeah, I'll be right back. I'm just going to prepare the motor wires and then we'll take it from there. Alright guys, so I basically prepared all the motor wires around the same length and cut them up and just twisted them, added some solder to them just to reduce some of the time here. So now what we want to do is we're just going to solder them to the ESCs. We're going to solder them straight ahead and then we'll edit it through the Betaflight BL Heli, the orientation of the motor through the BL Heli software. So what we're going to do is just, add something heavy, or if you have a helping hands, that'd be even better. I do, but it's currently holding my motor testing or ESC testing setup in place. So that's why I'm not currently using it, but I will be getting another one because I love it so much. All right, so there we go. We got one in. Now I'm kind of looking for there it is, for the tweezers, just to make it a little bit easier for me, instead of using my whole hand in there. There we go. And then plus it'll hold it for, I won't feel the heat, so thus it'll hold it better for me. There we go. And this TS100 soldering iron is just amazing. It really is amazing. I'm in love here. So there we go. We got one motor, one ESC done. And we're just going to do the other ones. We'll do one more together real quick. And just to show you how simple it is. This ESC might need a little bit of extra solder on it. So let's just prepare that. I'll clean it up a little. There we go. Just to freshen up the solder is always good. There we go. Get a nice, good bond between them. So, and again, I'm just gonna grab this and then just start with the middle one here. Makes it super easy. There we go. Beautiful. Maybe we should zoom in a little bit so you can get a better view. All right. Now I'm just gonna get my tweezers here. You can get these tweezers from Bingo. You get like a trillion for like $2 or something. I have a bunch of them. They usually, after a while of a lot of use, for example, if I wanted to take out the tips will bend. But that's after a long time, just constantly using them for something they're not supposed to be used for. But overall, they're really good tweezers. The solder doesn't stick to them. So when you're soldering here and everything, it's fine. It'll just the solder just doesn't stick to them, so it just keeps everything very nice and clean. So right now we have 2 motors and ESCs complete, and I'm just gonna skip over the other 2, and then I guess we'll just come back and then take it from there and see what's the next step. So I'll be right back, guys. Alright guys, so everything is installed kind of. So here's the flight controller. I just sorry about that, stuck it into place. We just still need an Xt60 and we're done with the flight controller. Now we're gonna go ahead and start doing the ESCs. Now the ESCs, there's something very important that I found a lot through my testing. That is, it's actually very important to ground your signal, which is this black wire that's coming with the white one. So what I tend to do is I would cut it and then wrap it around with the power ground here, and then ground them together. So this one's gonna have to go like this. So yeah, okay. So our positives there is our negatives there for the ESC, so they're gonna have to crisscross somewhat. All right, okay. So let's go ahead and start with that. So we're gonna go ahead and cut off some of these just to kind of give us some room here, okay, to work with. All right, we'll start with this one here. So what we want to do is obviously the ground is on this side here, and the positive is there. So let's just go ahead and set that up like so. Okay, so don't lose focus this way. All right, so let's go ahead and prepare our signal. Our signal is gonna go right on that pad right there. So let's go ahead and take the signal here. All right, so I think about here is gonna be fine. And then we'll just prepare it somewhat. There we go. And now we're gonna need these two. So let's just go ahead and get the exact length we're gonna need. So I'd say about here, we're gonna trim those like that. That's gonna be good right there. Okay, so that's gonna be nice. So it's gonna go in like so. It's still even actually a little bit too big. We could trim a little bit more out. There we go. Let's see now. Yeah, that's perfect right there. So those are gonna be perfect. And then this one is gonna be with that one. This one I like the ESC signal. I like it to be just a little bit longer, so it has a little bit more to twist around the bigger version of the ground. So let's just twist this before it gets all over the place. So we'll just do one motor together, or one ESC together, and then I'll just skip over the rest because it's the same process for all of them. All right, and all right. Okay. So these should be pretty good now. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the ground, this ground, the signal ground, and let's see how we're gonna do it like this. And there we go. So we're just gonna twist this guy around this guy here. Should have actually made the other ground a little bit bigger, but that's fine. So now I have the ground together with that ground, and I'm just gonna start adding solder to all of these, to all of the wires here. So let's get the solder. Okay. Start with the signal, which is the white one. Usually they're white, the signal, most of the time. I'm just cleaning up the tip here as best as I can. Okay. Add a little solder on it just to prepare it. There we go. Beautiful. All right. So we're just gonna add solder onto the signal first, and then we'll do the power, and we're gonna leave the ground for the last right now. See that splatter? You gotta be very careful. So if I turn this on and it burned, it's because there's some solder that jumped somewhere that I can't see anywhere. So, you know, you got to be very careful with these things. And actually don't do this with the flight controller under you, like I'm doing it. It's very stupid. Alright, so now our ground is also ready. So we can start setting this guy up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the signal first because it's so small. It's right there in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and grab some tweezers, and I'm just going to install it just like so. Perfect. Okay. And now we're going to need the power, which is on this side. So it's the opposite of the ESC. And actually ESCs, these ESCs are supposed to be installed the other way around. The heat sink is usually supposed to touch the carbon, and the carbon fiber kind of also acts as a bigger heat sink for it. But yeah, there's only, the pads are only on one side. So now we're gonna have to set that up there. I'm gonna go ahead and remove that. So take extra caution here, because you see this little button right there. One of those sides could be ground, so you could immediately short out the whole board. So just be very careful. There we go. Alright, so we have our positive in, and we're going to do the same thing for ground now. So we're going to have that all the way on the edge there. That's the one camera focus. Alright, I'm just going to push some of this off there. Okay. Beautiful. It's going to come out very nice looking little quadcopter here. So there's something important. Now you see this RX pad, you want to make sure nothing touches that pad. You know, see how this is still dragging here, but I'm totally fine. There's nothing dragging here. And I'm going to go ahead and put my standoff back on. And we just finished one motor. That's so awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest I'm going to do the same for the rest now. And this ESC ain't going nowhere. Now look at that. Do you see that in there? That's solder. That's very dangerous. You see that? So you should be very careful and always kind of work in a clean area. And yeah, there could be solder, you know, that jumped in the motor. As soon as you turn it on, you can say, oh, I see Racerstar's a piece of shit motor. But you know why? They usually tend to happen to new people because, you know, you don't know this stuff. And it's happening. It could happen to anyone. It could happen to me right now. Once I boot it up, something could burn. So it's always, you know, you just got to be very careful and try to be as cautious as possible and watch where your solder splashes, basically. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing for the rest, and then I'll be back once it's done, guys. All right, guys, so this is what is to be expected once you obviously complete it. It's a super thin, crazy ass stack. It's just awesome. I went ahead and put in the Xt60, and I just installed the camera for right now. So let's take a look at what we're going to do here. Obviously, first of all, if you notice, the standoffs are humongous. And I don't know where I have all, I forgot where I placed my standoffs. These are the ones I found right now, and they're just holding it in place. But the cool thing about this is we don't need any other stack. This is just a one stack build because the VTX is the Eachine TX526, and I always just use double-sided tape, and that holds it there forever and ever until it breaks. So we're gonna do that, and let's get that done with real quick. So I find this tape from Tesco. It's pretty crazy. It's super crazy strong. It depends on the surface or whatever you're using it, especially on the heat shrink of this type of this VTX. Whatever the heat shrink is on this VTX, these love each other. And this tape also loves carbon fiber quite a bit, actually. So it's very nice double-sided tape, this one. And it's non-conductive. That's one important thing. And it adds some dampening, you know. So the strength of this double-sided tape is usually I break these off because of it on my frogs here. So there we go. And before booting it up, make sure this comes out of the box turned off, so you have to power it on. So yeah, take that into consideration. So here we have our, what is this, VTX, and now the receiver could go really anywhere. But you can, what I tend to do if I'm able to is use double-sided tape and hold it against the camera, but it's not going to be the case now because it's not like one of those detachable ones. So I might just use a tiny small double-sided tape to hold it up here. I should have actually trimmed some of the heat shrink here. I used too much heat shrink, and I don't want to cut the antenna because that'd be very bad if we do that. Okay, so that's good here. Okay, that wasn't a very smart idea. That's fine. This is a piece of shit scissors for this type of job. Oh, there we go, it's a little bit better. We just need to remove some of this to get it to fit inside. There we go, that's perfect. I should have shrunk or just cut some of the heat shrink off before shrinking it. There we go. And some people ask me, like, what do you do with the antennas? Well, the antennas, what I usually tend to do is just tape them to one of the arms, like right here, and then on the bottom side and that one. And I'm totally fine with these. I never had any issue. But your mileage may vary. So yeah, take that into consideration. So let's see now. All right, so let's go ahead and start connecting everything. So we're gonna go ahead and install the VTX, which is like so, or like so. See, you want to keep the wires just long enough. You don't want to make a mess inside with wires, but you also want to be able to make it very easy for you to install and remove things, because trust me, you might end up having to in the field every once in a while, and it could be kind of annoying. So there we go. And now we just need the camera. So try to calculate how much you need, and over time, as you build more and more, you'll tend to know what you'll run against and how much wire you need for the VTX and stuff. And depending on the VTX, especially this one's not stackable. Now, if you take a look inside, do you see how empty that is? It's absolutely beautiful. It's like gorgeous. Like I haven't built a clean quad like this in a while. All right, so now the antenna. I'm probably gonna just allow it. As you can tell here, the VTX wires are pretty stiff. So if I bring this above it, it should actually just stay in place up there. It shouldn't go anywhere. So we don't need tape over there and then to later on have some issues. And I'm gonna grab one of the antennas, stick it to one side, and another antenna to the other side here. And yeah, we're actually done. That's it. Just install the screws and we'll take a look at it. And then I will be doing a beta flight setup, and I'll also be doing the configuration of the BL Heli ESCs, how to make sure they're in the correct orientation, because till this day I still get a lot of people who ask for that stuff and are still kind of lost of how to check for, you know, and also the receiver and these kinds of things. So this time I learned my lesson from last time. So I had my previous frog, which I did the same thing, but it was a Dalrc F405 FC, not the old one like this one. And what I did is I was basically lazy to take it back apart again and bind it. So I ended up burning that flight controller, and that's going to be an upcoming video where we're going to actually see what I burned because of that, and then we're going to see how we're going to fix it. And basically, maybe, hopefully, someone learned something to debug one of their already. Hold on. I need to kind of get it into place here. I think it's in place now. Yeah, there we go. Just going to put 2 screws for now. Later on, we'll come back for the rest because we're still going to do a little bit more with the. So can you see how empty the stack is? It's crazy. Hold on. Let's do a better view here. There we go. All right. Do you see this? There's nothing in there. I could put my whole finger in there. This is everything. Are we missing anything? It feels so weird. It feels like we're missing so much. But now since the ESCs are outside here, I did put electrical tape so these, you know, nothing touches from the bottom. I could have put heat shrink, but I just didn't want, because when I was doing the thermal testing, I noticed heat shrink is not very, it doesn't really act like a heat sink as well, and plus they already have heat shrink, so double heat shrink is not really good for them. So I just decided to put double-sided tape here so nothing touches, and we'll just put something to hold them in place. Actually, these are going to be held in place pretty good, but if it catches on a branch, then you're screwed, so it's nice to actually put tape or something. So overall, looks pretty nice. The antennas here, what I'll do is I'll just, you know, depending on how much the length is, I will tape it. Like maybe I'll just put one piece of tape here, and it'll just hold this antenna into place, and then it'll just leave this little much out from the back from the tape, just like this. This is what I do. I know it's not the best configuration, but it just works perfect for me. So I mean, that's it. I'm not really fussy. And this build came out absolutely clean, and it just looks so sick. It looks so crazy. It reminds me back in the day when I used to build these, and it really does look awesome. I don't know if it's the super red, you know, motors with just the blacked out frame and the blacked out ESCs and the little hints of red and the blacked out Xt60, but it just looks so fucking awesome. Oh my goodness. I think this might be another one of my favorite quads. The frog, just usually, you know, whatever I put on the frog, it's just like the best ever. Durability, everything. So I really can't wait to test these motors. And this is probably the best money could buy you. I mean, for the lowest amount of money, I think this is the best setup you could one of the best setups you could possibly build at the current moment of time. You have the latest F405 all-in-one flight controller. You have BL Heli S ESCs, which they were premium ESCs. They're still actually basically premium ESCs, just the price dropped because, you know, they have less demand now. But it shows that these are pretty damn good ESCs. Motors, budget motors. You can put whatever the hell motors you want. But the overall system is going to be a beautiful, perfect system to do whatever you want with it. All you got to do is just change motors, and then you basically change its performance. But you're not going to have to upgrade your ESCs anytime soon, your flight controller, your VTX, or anything. All those are going to be beautifully perfect, and you just change your motors out. And that's all you're going to have to do. I mean, it's that good of a quad. This is basically a premium, like what is 6 months ago this would have been a super premium quadcopter, basically, except the motors. Obviously the motors are still in the budget range, but the motors still perform absolutely phenomenal for Racerstar motors. They perform like any other premium $20 motor, not the super premium motors like a T motor or something, but they perform like any other DYS motor, for example. I don't like DYS for some reason. I just don't know why. DYS ARIA are probably the only DYS thing I like. I think I could be wrong, but at the current moment of time, DYS ARIA ESCs are the only thing I like from DYS. Motors, I'm not really a big fan of. They're just always felt underpowered for me, but that's just my opinion. And well, we'll come back and we'll do the configuration of this, and I'm actually going to go fly it. I'll do the config video. I'll probably do a separate video where I just go into depth of everything, of how I set everything up, and I'm going to go fly it, and then I'm just going to enjoy this one. Hopefully it's going to be a beast. And well, that's it, guys. That's going to conclude it for this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I really hope someone helped learn something from this video. And if you really love this content, please consider joining my Patreon. Just $1 or $2. That really keeps the channel going. And you can also use the links down below. Those greatly support the channel. And if you needed some 6-inch arms, you can get them from my shop. And I also have the Dahle Rc here at my shop if you wanted one. And that's it, guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. And I will see you next time. See you guys. Take care.